In the previous video on this Corvette, at the very last second, you saw me tease putting a rotary engine into it. A lot of you thought I was joking. I'm not. Well, today is a very exciting day, and not because Jarrett's gone. Yes, I'm holding the camera myself because he's out with his girlfriend. That's kind of a little bit of a surprise, but even to me. But in this case, I'm gonna be doing this whole video with you. It's just me and you guys, like old school style. And what is happening today is this LS6 is going goodbye. Now, I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna do with it yet. That's the honest truth. But I'll have it aside, and in the next couple videos, we'll compare it to the 13B, compare it to the 20B, and even compare it to the 26B. Just size, dimensions, weight, all of those things that we've all kind of wanted to know. That'll be a whole video series for you. So this video, it's more so not me on camera, it's gonna be actual content, so you'll switch between GoPro and the microphone and content here, because GoPro microphones suck. And we're gonna start pulling this LS6. Let's take a quick look at the tools I'll be using to remove this engine. Well, first of all, I'm actually gonna be busting out this Milwaukee set of ratchet and sockets. The whole tang system can do everything. The thing is, it's just a little bit easier on camera to see which pieces I'm pulling, and it's just nice and compact for that reason. And when I drop them, they don't slide away, which I'm very prone to dropping. I've got my whole tang tool set here, and I mean, I've got everything I'll need, including pry bars. That's Milwaukee's pry bars. Hopefully won't need that drawer. But if things get bad, well, there you go. I've got my 3/4 inch drive, which I have used for the axle nuts on the RX-7. A little light, it actually comes in pretty handy. Sadly, the Corvette is very little steel, so the Corvette isn't going to let this thing stick to it. I actually use the M12 with a 1/4 inch adapter and the M18 with a 3/4 inch. That's not for actual torquing of things. It's actually just so I can remove bolts pretty quickly. If it's a bolt like this, I don't think I'm gonna be taking the coils off, but I could just boom, 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 really quickly. Finally, I love a ratcheting crescent wrench. That comes in really handy. Only downside is this is all metric, but many of you guys have already learned 13 means 1/2 inch in foreign. For this video, I'm actually gonna be using gloves, so if you see me, remember, guys, no glove, no love. First step is definitely getting the 8mm out and removing the negative lead. I'm not used to these side battery terminals. That's a new one for me. There we go. The next thing we're gonna do in this case is take off the hood so we can shine more light in on our situation. That is one wide engine. I think at this point it's gonna be start taking off auxiliary stuff, anything that I need to do there, and then drain it of fluids. First of all, this whole air system's all janked, and that's definitely because of that side down there. So using a flathead for everything, I'm just gonna use an insanely powered torquey drill. We're gonna get that crazy. Assuming that that is a mass airflow sensor or something like that. It's probably part of the ECU. Is that drive-by-wire? That looks very much like a drive-by-wire motor. Okay, that is definitely a surprise to me. All rotaries don't even, there's no mention of drive-by-wire in the Rotary Bible. Definitely gonna want to keep the radiator setup intact, because that's pretty badass in this car. Obviously putting it in gear and pulling the e-brake locks those rear tires up. Here. This car, unlike all of my other cars, for the most part that I've worked on, has air conditioning. I'm using this not to fill it, but to check pressure. And sure enough, the car has air conditioning. Shit. If you do not remove those lines or get them purged by a professional, you're gonna have a really bad time. I did that when I was a little kid. I was playing with my mom's 96 Camry, and I just unbolted this and boom! Thought for sure I lost my eyesight. It was horrible. While the camera was off, I let my friend reclaim all of the air conditioning refrigerant, and we are currently at 0 psi on both the high in the low pressure side. So we are ready to take off the air conditioning. And so this whole assembly should just pop off. What the hell is that? Okay, so there's a rib cage on the front of my car. So instead of going straight for the radiator fluid, if you're just pulling the engine like a normal build, I've realized, you know what, let's just cascade back. I'm gonna take the air conditioning condenser off first. Yeah, look at that. There's just a little bit of pressure still in there. Like I said, if the system's fully charged, that would have been catastrophic. Should be able to just gently. This is the first time in my life I've taken an air conditioning condenser out with plans to put it back in and keep it in good shape. We're going to take this and hide it under the area I think that the coolant should come out from first. You LS guys are going to laugh at me while I'm struggling with this. You ready for the waterfall? I wasn't ready for the waterfall. I'm going to be adapting the two-rotor to all the stock Corvette things, so it's going to start here and there, so on. Wiring bit. There we go. And out comes a partially full radiator. That radiator needs to be emptied. Wow, this car's starting to look pretty empty. I haven't even touched the engine. Well, that continues to empty. Nice front amount of space here, leaving tons of access for that monstrosity. Well, that is not nearly as pretty as it looked earlier. Rotor engines definitely look better. I'm gonna just start pulling all these wires back. So we've got two headers, something I'm not used to. 4 cylinders on one side, 4 on the other. So we'll have one header, two header, and some sort of clutch, and the bell housing that attaches to where the transmission is all the way in the back. Otherwise, overall flat body, that's pretty nice. So I'm definitely going to be taking off the down pipes to the, whatever that is, cross pipes, mid pipes. This is the bell housing per se. This is the beginning of the torque tube. So the engine's gonna start coming off in this area right here. If I get pain, it's for your guys' viewing pleasure. Full Function Engineering actually sells an adapter to connect this throttle body up to the FD. But yeah, it's fly-by-wire, drive-by-wire. Good luck on figuring that one out for me. As a rotary guy, you gotta admit, these things are just iconic. It pisses me off seeing them, especially saying Corvette, but it pisses me off seeing them in an RX-7. There we are, there's the monster, naked, some sort of fuel rail. And we're gonna try and use all the stuff that came with the car. We're actually going to pull the windshield wiper fluid container out, only because it's hiding a wire. Is that a 10 mil? Is that really a 10 mil? It really is a 10 mil. Yeah, there we are. Literally the connector, the pump, powering the pump. Pull pump assembly off. They did a really good job cleaning up this engine bay with just dressing. But you can really see the age of the car start coming into play. Not really old, it's just tons of dirt from 130,000 miles of Corvette. Maybe like an air pump for rotary. Definitely not part of any race rotary application. Was there a sensor for this clutch? Holy shit, there's not. Windshield wiper fluid level. All the creature comforts in here. And we're going to put all of that back, so this is not a destructive process like my normal Dahm special. Let's just do ground. I'm still keeping all of this footage because I'm gonna need it more than anybody else. It was one of the most successful things I ever did on the 3-rotor is I tore it all the way down, and I didn't understand a lot of the body harness at the time. And sure enough, those videos came into play when I got it fired back up after doing all that. Getting further, I have to give some manufacturers credit for the safety features on these cars. The ABS and airbags on an RX-7, holy crap, are they super redundant. They don't want you dying. Obviously, that's a massive lawsuit for them. Comes back. Where are you? Oh, you're definitely... Horns. All of this has to come off anyway because they're going to be heating this chassis up and applying pressure and flames and everything to it. So this is not something that is going to stay on even if I don't take it off. There we go. What a wild looking body harness. This harness from General Motors is one-sided, unlike Mazda, who decides to loop it all the way back around. Body harness out, engine harness next. Still giving the blaster time to work its magic. Another important safety one. Again, we're gonna wanna remember this is probably gonna get rewired in one way or another to the rotary. Thankfully, the guys over at Adaptronic and some of the other ECUs worked in this drive-by-wire. I think this whole wire is the worst terminology ever to describe how the throttle cable works. Because to me, wire is synonymous with cable. Yeah, you old school guys or whatever, the guys that bitch about motor and engine being two different things, I get it. It should have been electronic throttle or something like that. Something to indicate that it's not a physical cable. Good old injectors, top feed, just like the RX-7. Okay, so there are 10 mil and 1/2 inch, both on this motor. The body has occasionally had metric. I bet this car is actually easier to work on. I mean, I'm having an easy time with it overall, but I bet it's easier to work on. You guys can tell me in the comments, versus a rotary where you have to be pretty damn educated on how they set it up. This is the first time in my life I've ever kept tabs like this in shape. So we do the same thing on both sides while I'm at it. Somebody's already broken that one. Wow, I can't really pull on that. That's very, very firm. So I took off the outer panel, obviously, just quickly, not wasting you guys' time. Then we have the rest of the electronics really just ready to go back to here. I wanted them out of the way. So these are actually glued on normally, which is something I'm gonna have to redo. Okay. Look at that, there you go. That's the whole body harness. That is so much easier than the RX-7. Unplugging whatever these are. Probably engine bay to interior connections. I like that. All this air distribution. Whew. We'll trace that one down in a second. I'm gonna stop on the top side for the moment, and I'm actually gonna jump on down underneath the car and start pulling, like I said, the engine mounts, the transmission mount, the clutch, and the bell housing. Everything about this car is simple. I love it. Weird 15 mil thing. Not that enough, yeah. It's close. It's gonna be weird. Oh, that wasn't terrifying. Goes back on there. They would have ripped the O2 sensors off, so make sure you take those off ahead of time. Wow, there's even more O2 sensors. Even more interesting is these O2 sensors have multiple wires. I wonder if those are wide bands. Narrow bands are like 2 wires. These are 4. The upper O2 sensors would rip off. You'd find that out very quickly as soon as you start pulling the engine up. I do not want to go the route of pulling the torque tube and the drivetrain, the transmission. We're not going into that phase yet. And really, on this car, we're never really going to have to. That stays the way it is. This whole subframe, I can use to my advantage. Pull the tops off of the upper control arm shocks maybe, and then that lets the whole thing drop a little bit and pull the engine out. Because there's just the room between this glued, bonded thing to cooler for the power steering, but then all of this just makes me uncomfortable. So I might as well just drop the whole thing down and then pull the engine out from the top. With the exhaust finished up and things unplugged from there, we're gonna go ahead and focus back on the top, pull the fuel rail connections, pull the intake manifold. I need something to bolt the little leveler too, so I'm gonna pull more of the infamous intake off of this car and start unbolting a lot of the accessories. I'm gonna speed through this process because this is actually pretty straightforward. I mean, everything you see is well, literally right in front of you. I am going to purge the fuel system using this little Schrader valve here. This is a pretty iconic moment as I've got the intake manifold ready for removal. So you saw earlier I took off the throttle body, but the intake manifold's got to go, and the only thing that's holding it in the back is a connector connected to it. The only thing I don't have at the moment is this damn fuel line. I'm sure anybody that's done LS work has realized that that's a specialty tool. So I'm just going to pick this whole thing up and turtle it over. There we are. Hello. To see the intake off of an LS looks pretty funny. I'm going to shove a paper towel basically into each of those 4. As much as I hate LS swaps, I don't hate LS motors. And especially when that thing's worth whatever, 3-4 grand, I really don't hate it. I can now take this and bring her back just gently. There's still stuff that needs to stay with the motor. There's stuff that needs to go. There's a lot of secret things back here. So I'm going to pull the exhaust gas recirculation stuff off, but that brings me down to the exhaust manifold. I'm going to take this header off on both sides, not because I absolutely have to. They're the short stock ones, so they'll come out. But hey, less is more. Makes it easier to use the lightest 1-ton lift engine picker out. Just simplifies my whole situation. So I'm going to pull all of that off, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the alternator off, as well as the air conditioning condenser. All of that should really lighten up the load and make it easier to access the bell housing. This was a pain in the ass. Oh my God. That is such a horrible design. I think that's absolutely foolish. Fuck you. That these things, okay, I get the metal thing around it. I get it. It's an exhaust. But oh my God, I don't want to pull on this. It doesn't give you enough room. I can do it now because the exhaust manifold's gone. So I tried pulling just those out, but then the oil fill thing just kept getting stuck. Absolutely annoying. That's why I'm glad this thing's going rotary. What do you guys think? There's probably some sort of special tool that hooks on right there. Well, that gives me a much better view of the magic here. There's the motor mount. That's simple enough. And then there's the starter over there. more wires that I had to get to, so actually good thing I took the exhaust off. And then, of course, my favorite thing to hate, the AC condenser.
That simple. Away from this. I hate these clips more than any other clip on this car.
This has been an extremely torturous process. As you just saw, I was able to remove the engine wiring harness, and it's not easy to remove at all. There's no real quick trick to it because the area right there is just so tight. You can see how difficult it is maneuvering around that, maneuver around the EGR whole crap system. I'd bend that to get that to work. Just overall not really conducive to moving this stuff in and out. Granted, this is a bone stock car. Even the RX-7 is difficult when you have everything on there. What I'm going to do now is remove all 7, some of the, I think it's 7, 2 on the side, 2 on this side, 2 on the bottom, and 1 on the top, bolts that hold the engine to the bell housing. We're going to pull the engine separate from the bell housing or separate from the drivetrain, especially with the cooling for the power steering and the ABS. The subframe's just got to come down. This is my 1-ton crane. That's my bathroom back there. But this crane is not long enough to reach this LS6. That's not that big of a problem overall because I have it extended fully. But look at this. This position on this crane requires it to be at a 1/4 ton. 1/4 ton, 1 ton is what? 2,000 pounds? So that's 500 pounds. I don't know if this engine's capable of being picked up like this. We're going to find out together, but I'm pretty sure this is under 500 pounds. I know that that little spinny boy back there, you're definitely under 500 pounds.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. Pull this bolt, which should free up whatever that is. Bell housing bolt out. That lets me pull this back. It does actually make me feel better. Not good, but better. Okay, I ended up using this to get off the last 2 of these. Fuck those. Let's see what happens. Okay. They split open a little bit. Just right.
Removing those engine mounts really made it easier to crack open the difference between the engine and the bell house. On an RX-7, it wouldn't be this simple. You'd have to actually release the clutch because it's a pull type clutch instead of, I'm assuming this is a push type clutch because it's coming out very easily. But here's my worst enemy right here. I've now hit the steering rack, and I mean, I guess I can kind of pull up, but that's quite an angle to pull up.
I'm just gonna loosen the subframe until it falls off. Oh no, the subframe's not gonna come down. Those upper control arms are definitely holding it on. Oh yes. That's one side. Whew.
I do have the subframe partially off. Everything's completely disconnected, but it is in a very awesome spot. So right now, you can see it's starting to give me just that clearance that I'm looking for right in the middle. Right there. I just need to get those two split further without breaking brake lines.
Okay. At this point, hey, there we go.
Oh yes, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an LS out of its former shell. That was very angry. It did not want to come out one bit. And I didn't damage anything. So maybe the throwout bearing, the frame. Oh yes. Oh, hell yes. Okay, let's look for anything that could be damaged. This is a beautiful moment. There we go. We have an LS out of its natural environment. It was angry. It does not want to come out of here. The car doesn't want to let it go. It can tell what I'm up to. My first LS out of a car. Oh my God, what a moment. What a cool moment. That is a massive engine. Well, there you have it. The LS, the devil, is out of the chassis. The chassis did nothing wrong. It means no harm. It's the bad guy over here. He's out. It's done. The bad monster is gone. And at this point, it took me X number of hours. I don't know how many hours. I'm going to put it on the screen because I'm going to add up all the footage ending and beginning. This was 4 nights of just pure going ham until this motor was out of this car. And you can see that is a massive engine bay. Not only that, this is definitely going to be a front mid-engine car. I mean, that little 2-rotor, just look at this. Here, I'll show you a comparison. Engine bay, previous motor, baby 2-rotor all the way back there. Let's do it again. 2-rotor, massive engine bay. There's definitely going to be a lot of room to gain And the motor mounts almost look like they're too far for the 13B, because that 13B, we're going to have to do something with that bell housing there. But that engine's going to come to like right here. That is going to be one hell of a funny engine in a big vehicle.